Okay, welcome to the Thursday, January 15th, 2015 meeting of the Auburn Zoning Board of Appeals. Before us this evening, we have a 7 o'clock application from Polar Corporation requesting a special permit under section 7.4.4 prohibited signs, 7.6.1 permitted signs in business industrial districts of the Auburn zoning bylaws to allow the construction of a sign that exceeds the maximum area and height to be located partially above the roof line of the existing warehouse facility, property located at 26 South Street, Auburn, Mass, map 6, parcel 170. So before we begin the hearing, we have to take this in two steps. As you know, a few months back, we saw this request for a substantially large sign on this particular piece of property. So per Mass General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 16, they had the right to appeal. They did so to the planning board. The planning board voted unanimously that they had made substantial changes to their original plan. So we have to take this in two steps. Is first, that we will discuss that we agree that there are substantial changes to the plan and that we will hear the new application. And if that's the case, we'll allow them to present. And then we will make a decision on the actual sign issue. So do we have any...
Okay.
Do you have a motion on the floor to open the hearing?
Motion to open the hearing.
Do you have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I'm going to refrain from any comment first. I'm going to allow all you to do so. Mr. Cusi, Mr. Cussy, do you have any comments?
I'm okay. I believe that they've made sufficient changes, and I'm okay with the appeal.
Okay, approved. Mr. Chicolo?
Mr. Chairman, are you looking for comment on the changes that were made, or are you looking for comment on this application?
For the first stage of this hearing, what we're going to do is get the general consensus if we believe that there are substantial changes to the application itself, and then we'll hear, if the board votes in favor of that, we will hear the application itself. So right now, I'm looking for, if you agree that the newly submitted request has substantial enough changes to have it reheard, if I'm saying that correctly.
I don't want to say yes, I don't want to say no, because I'm questioning whether we have that ability to, if we were to say there are not sufficient enough changes, I'm questioning whether we have the ability to say we wouldn't hear it. Viewing this as a new request and a new proposal that we would definitely have to hear. I don't think our yes or no vote on whether we believe there are substantial changes has a bearing on whether we hear this this petition. I think the planning board has determined that there were substantial changes, substantial enough to unanimously vote that it should be referred back to the zoning board. So I would question whether we have the right to even think of denying hearing this application.
Okay, can I refer to that?
Sure.
And if I might, Mr. Chairman?
I'm listening, go ahead.
Well, okay, I guess you would want to get by this first stage before you heard input from the petitioner?
If I may, Mr. Chairman, I could speak to the issue that I agree it's a two-step process. Stephen Medaus of Myrick O'Connell on behalf of Polar Corporation.
Yes, sir.
4816, Mr. Chairman, you're correct. The law prohibits what they refer to as repetitive petitions. Once denied, you may not come back with the same application for 2 years. It's protective of abutters, so they don't have to come out every 6 months for a new application. This original application, as the board may remember, was obtained a vote of 3 in favor, 2 opposed, so that's deemed to be a denial for a special permit. Under 48 Section 16, if the planning board consents by 4 of the 5 members to find that there are specific and material changes, not necessarily significant, but specific and material for the reason for which it was originally denied, which the record indicated the board viewed, or some members of the board viewed the original application as too large. So we came back with a much reduced size sign. The planning board issued their consent that that's a specific and material change to the basis for which it was denied. Now, this board, if you make that same finding, you may receive the second application.
Correct.
So our position is, and I would ask the board to find that it's a specific and material change for the reasons of the original denial, the application that's before you, the new proposal. And the two plans are in the submittal that I filed with the board.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think you did a much better job explaining that than I did.
If that is specifically what you asked for a vote on, I would vote that, yes, we should hear this petition.
Okay? Mr. Maron?
I am in agreement that we should hear the petition. I would vote yes. I do have questions on how this board receives the decision of the planning board. And I'll just hold that. Just as a matter of process, not concerns, but just questions around how, and I appreciate the gentleman providing that explanation, and it certainly sounds like you have an area of expertise there, but I have just some questions in navigating it myself on what we specifically received, and I read it several times, what we received from the planning board. But having said that, this first stage,
Yes.
I would absolutely support hearing the petition.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Ms. Roach?
Yes,
I as well, yes. So,
and just, excuse me if I could, through the chair, I believe we did receive some notice in regard to your question in our packet.
And I did read that.
Okay.
all right, so can I have a motion on the floor officially to move forward to hear this new request?
Motion to move forward with hearing this request.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, seeing none? Thank you. Okay, so as I read previously, we have a application for Polar Corporation requesting a special permit under Section 744 prohibited signs and 761 permitted sign in business of industrial use district for the Auburn zoning bylaws to allow the construction of a sign that exceeds the maximum area of height to be located partially above the roof line and existing warehouse facility on the property located at 26 Elford Street, Auburn, Mass. Map 6, parcel 170. Do I have a motion to open the hearing? Do
Motion to open the hearing?
I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Sir, so now that the formalities are over, if you could present your new application for us, please?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, Stephen Madaus of Myrick O'Connell. With me this evening are Brian Lafort, Vice President of Real Estate for Polar Corporation, and also Mr. David Harding, Director of Warehousing for Polar. So before the board is an application for a special permit for waivers under the town's sign bylaw. I'm sure the board is familiar with the subject property. It is located at 26 Southbridge Street, and the property is located in the General Industrial Zoning District. It's Polar's warehousing facility, fairly new. There are 125 employees approximately at this location, of which approximately 30 are residents of the town of Auburn. Now I'll advance beyond the repetitive petition part of my notes, Mr. Chairman, since we've disposed of that. But I did submit a narrative of the provisions of the zoning bylaw that we are seeking waivers from, Section 7.4.4, relative to the sign extending above the roof line. And the highest points of the extension above the roof line for the sign are the bear and the bottle, as shown on the plan that's in the packet. And also, I have some boards here if the members want to see that representation. The dimensions are 17 feet and 4 inches above the roof line, and that's the highest point for those two, the bear and the bottle. Also, 7.6, the sign limitation, the size limitation on the sign. The proposed sign is 4,241 square feet. In my view, Mr. Chairman, the proposed sign is modern, tasteful, and attractive. It does not involve or include any electronic, digital, or video display. The sign will be visible almost exclusively to travelers of Interstate 290 it will be not visible or intrusive to any town residents or property owners due to its location on that side of the warehouse facing the interstate. As on-site advertisement, it's a polar building. It's not advertising some other product. It's a polar sign to indicate their location. I believe, Mr. Chairman, it'll show that the town of Auburn is business-friendly, and it's, as I say, it's kind of a modern type of signage, similar to what you would see as you travel down the turnpike with the WGBH building or then the New Balance building. And with that, we request that the board grant the waivers, the special permit to grant the waivers. I also had seen in the record that there might be some concern about setting precedents by granting waivers of the nature that we've applied for. But the bylaw that was adopted by town meeting does empower this board to grant waivers from the regulations. That's in the last section, 9.7, I think it is, of the bylaw, or 7.9, 7.8. This board is authorized by the bylaw adopted at town meeting to grant waivers, so some flexibility was intended, I would argue, for this board to consider these kinds of applications. And because flexibility was vested with the board, I think each application must be reviewed on its merits, and I don't think you're bound by any precedents when you have that kind of discretion. And this sign is so unique in its location as not projecting onto town property in any way that I think the board should not have much concern at all that you'll be bound by any decision you might make to grant the requested relief. So we're available to answer any questions. It's a rather straightforward matter. It's simply a sign on the side of a warehouse in an industrial zone, so.
Okay. Thank you very much. Mr. Cussy, do you have any questions?
No, I'm okay with it. Doesn't affect neighbors, the butters, we don't see any here. Signage is, I think it suits the building terrific. I'm okay with it.
Okay. Mr. Chicola?
In going through our bylaws, the purpose and intent of our bylaw is the regulation of signs is necessary in order to preserve and enhance the governmental interests of the town of Auburn and its natural, scenic, historic, cultural, and aesthetic qualities. And it goes on to speak about pedestrian traffic and so forth. The particular sign that we're referring to here is in an industrial area. This bylaw would definitely be, you wouldn't want to look at this across the street. I don't think anything in our bylaw specifically refers to this specific type of situation. I think this is definitely a one-off from what this bylaw refers to. I want to cite a couple other things here. In that this special permit, and this is from legalese from an attorney who, in Foxborough, who had gone through the special permit process and so forth. Special permits are issued to authorize specifically itemized uses. In general, the court has emphasized that the criteria for issuance of a special permit are less stringent than those involved in the application for a variance. The fact that this building sits where it sits, okay, I would even be okay with granting, if that's what we're being applied for, a variance. The fact that there are trees there is land that is not owned by this company, there is water there. The topology of that land alone would satisfy the requirements, in my mind, for a variance, and we're only looking for a special permit. Okay? I gotta get back here, I'm sorry. So, I have no problem with this. I think that this particular sign is definitely considered as a one-off. Oh, I know what I'm sorry. I got a few things underlined here. And again, we should grant the special permit. It presents no alteration to the topology or risk of erosion, and it is compatible with the character of the existing industrial park and neighborhood, which is in the Merrick O'Connell package, that wording. Again, I think the topology of this land, being that there are trees there, you wouldn't be able to see a sign that was any smaller. The fact that those trees cannot be removed, the fact that there is the specific nature of the topology of the land with wetlands, I think that satisfies anything that we should be looking for to grant the special permit. That's about it.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Maron?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would only add at this point, and I recall the first proposal the reason why I think I recall it so well is because it was actually my very first meeting on this board. And so, as these gentlemen may recall, I asked a fair amount of questions, and hopefully I didn't put you through the paces too poorly. But I would add that I think that we certainly are charged with, from a business perspective, wanting to provide businesses an opportunity to compete openly and fairly in the marketplace. And I take from the comments that were made in the first hearing to heart I asked these gentlemen why specifically they wanted this additional signage. And I was satisfied at that time with the responses they provided.
Okay.
I don't have anything further, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Ms. Roach?
Thank you. Through the chair, just a couple questions about lighting. I know the sign itself is not going to contain any flashing, any neon. Is it going to be lit 24 hours a day? What kind of lighting is going to be used?
Yes, there's a note on the plan that the lighting would be, it'd be on a timer.
Okay,
It'll be lit during business hours, which is consistent with the bylaw.
okay.
I did talk to to land planning today about lighting. The lights will be shown on the sign, there's no backlighting. And also, the engineer from land planning said this side of the facade of the building is already well lit. It'll be the same amount of lighting. It's just going to be, now some lighting will be directed onto the signage.
Okay.
And it's going to be, as the was cut-off fixtures, which means that lighting projects only onto the surface of the sign. There's no light
Okay.
pollution, if you will, off-site. So.
Okay, that and the hours of that was my two main questions.
The sign company itself would determine the number of fixtures and their size and how they would be installed to light the sign. But I'm told that it wouldn't project any more off the site than the existing lighting that's there.
That's all for me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Natoli?
Mr. Chairman, point of order, if I may.
Yes.
I was fortunate to be in attendance at a previous Board of Selectmen's meeting, and there was a proposal put forward regarding this board specifically. I was not there for that proposal, but I was in attendance to hear that there's been a proposal put forward and accepted by the Board of Selectmen that specifically our charter be reviewed, and that we essentially take a look at the alternates and rewrite it to make sure that we're clearly including how we're utilizing the alternates on this
Yes,
board.
I'm familiar with
So
that.
the determination was made, and actually in favor of, which I didn't voice any opinion at this meeting, but in favor of the use of alternates, as we would all cycle through various meetings in our attendance. But without going long, it was determined that it would be taken up at a town meeting forward and a proposal be written on how we essentially insert the use of alternates at our meetings, because we
Yes.
don't currently have that. Until which time that takes place, it was also determined by the Board of Selectmen that the alternates that we currently have on this board should not and would not participate in any actions or activity or advise this board in any way until that takes place. So respectfully, Mr. Chairman, I would request that we support and adhere to what was shared at that meeting. If there are any questions about that, we can circle back to our appointing authority. But at this point in time, it was recommended that we not seek any opinion, advice, or solicit any activity from our alternates until this matter is decided.
Okay. I was aware of that situation, and I sought clarity on it, and what I was told was that they could offer opinions during the course of the meeting, but they could not take any action on voting at all. So in other words, if we did not have enough members present to have a quorum, we are not allowed to bring for the time being, not allowed to bring an alternate member forward as a full voting member. But as I was told to me that they could include input in the meeting, but they could not vote on any matters. So even though I think that we have a question of clarity here, I'm going to err on the side of caution, and I'll go with your recommendation until we find it further for the next meeting.
I respectfully appreciate your opinion, Mr. Chairman. I was, until you offered the last piece, was certainly willing to defer to as your point of clarification. It was not my understanding during the meeting, and again, I just happened to be there in part because there was another part of the meeting that I was interested in, and that my wife kicked me away from the television that night, so I wasn't able to watch. But in anecdotes aside, in attending that meeting, it was clear to me, in my understanding, that alternates were not to participate in any way, shape, or form. And so that was not consistent with what you had shared. I am certainly willing to defer
And I
as
think,
chairman
again,
to your opinion.
I think then we'll err on the side of caution, and I apologize to Mr. Natoli. I think that...
Can I recuse myself? I think I'll speak as a member as a resident of the town.
Yeah, you most certainly can.
Thank you.
Thank you for hearing me, Mr. Chairman.
Absolutely.
Through the chair, Dennis Natoli, 370 South Street, a resident of the town, if that's okay with Mr. Martin that I speak. I have a lot of knowledge on this. And what's interesting is the two of the parts of the bylaw that Mr. Chicolo referred to. I wrote them, okay? The intent, and I also wrote the one on granting relief, because for many years, it was by variance, it was very difficult. So, I mean, I rewrote the whole bylaw, most of it. So, not trying to stifle my opinion on it is, I don't think there's a service to the board or the town. Okay, first of all, because, you should be seeking what the town is looking at, as well as what the business part wants, but you should also consider town meeting, which is the duty of this board is to uphold the bylaw as much as possible. Grant relief when can, but support town meeting, which is the vote of the people of the town. Now, I understand that, the applicant is looking for this sign. If you look at the intent portion of the sign bylaw, the governmental interest is really to make sure it's safe, that you can see where the business is located. If you're on a road where there's egress, you want to make sure you can have enough notice. And the intent that you were saying about the regulation use, it was to preserve the natural beauty of the town. That wasn't, and I am the author of it, so the intent wasn't to say signs are natural beauty. They're not. It is the natural beauty of the town as far as landscaping and things like that. But this sign is basically a billboard to be seen from 290. Okay? It's not a sign that someone passing by is going to see to enter, because you can't make a turn off the highway. Okay? So governmental interest is very little on this. And I just want to point out to the board that the bylaw states 250 square feet. It took 2 tries through town meeting, because it was 40 square feet for years with a variance. It was difficult to get by. And when I proposed and wrote the part for the special permit, never did I even envision that someone would be coming for a sign that was I believe this is around 2,000% larger than the largest sign allowed by the bylaw. And to basically look at this and quickly dismiss that bylaw and not even give thought to town meeting and its vote is, I think you're doing irreparable harm to this bylaw. Without a doubt, you're doing irreparable harm. So what is to prevent a 1,000-square-foot sign, 1,500, 2,000, when you've already approved an over 4,000-square-foot sign? You got to look to the intent of the bylaw. You have to look at, it got passed by town meeting, and give some thought to that vote. It takes 120 people to vote. After that, it has to go through hearings in Boston to get approved. It takes a lot to get a bylaw that goes through, and just for 5 people to come up and willy-nilly dismiss it like it doesn't matter. I didn't hear anyone even look at the size of the sign and compare it to what's allowed. And that's my thought and my opinion on this.
Thank you, Mr. Natoli. Yes, sir.
May I respond, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
I appreciated the comments from the citizen and alternate member. He characterized it as basically a billboard. It's not a billboard, it's on-site advertising of the business at the premises. Billboards are available for lease or rent for various advertisers of all kinds of products and messages and content. This is one message for one business in the industrial zone. It's not a billboard. Also, we worked with the bylaw that town meeting adopted. The waiver provision that I cited in my original presentation at 7.8 reads that the Zoning Board of Appeals may waiver any requirement of this section through a special permit process. So I credit town meeting for knowing what they were voting on and saying they would give to this board the discretion by special permit, because the standard for a variance, absent this provision, we'd be applying for a variance, which I don't even think we would qualify for, because it would be a self-imposed hardship. So there'd be no relief available to us. We are working with what town meeting adopted and the Attorney General approved, and that's available to us and available to the board. That is consistent with both the intent and spirit of the bylaw. So, and again, I think this proposal is so unique in light of the size of the building, the size of the operations, a probably nationally known company, that it merits consideration separate from any other proposal that might come before you in the future. So I don't think you're discarding or discrediting the bylaw that's workable for those that seek to come before you. So I would request that you approve our request.
Anyone else? Any further input? Do we have any abutters present? Hearing none, seeing none? Does anybody else have any further input?
If I may, Mr. Chairman, and through the chair, just a quick follow-up to the comments by our resident, Mr. Natoli, and an alternate member. I have a great deal of respect and appreciation for the fact that Mr. Natoli expresses that he wrote this bylaw and others in the many years that he served on this board. I also want to just characterize that I think that this is a very unique scenario, and that one of the things, and I would share openly with my fellow board members, that as we navigated this last time, and this has been, to my satisfaction, addressed this evening, is that the idea of precedence, of setting the precedence, was a significant concern of mine for the character of the town, for what this bylaw that we're navigating is intended. And I think, again, Mr. Natoli had eloquently provided some background. And I applaud it in the fashion in which he did it, so that we could keep to what our governing board had asked us to do. But given him an opportunity, I think that it was a very smart way to hear his comments. So I applaud his effort there in giving us an opportunity to let us hear him. But I think that the precedence issue was something that I struggled with greatly last time. And it was particularly because of the size gentlemen. And it was because in scale, one of the questions I asked last time was that were there other hearings in comparison that we had ever gone so far beyond, just in sheer mass, so far beyond the numbers in a particular bylaw? And the response at that point in time was no, and we talked about the scale and the sign at that time. So I would ask the board to reflect that I don't believe that we've stepped through these decisions and these discussions willy-nilly in any fashion. I do think that we are certainly trying to respect the bylaws that have been written. But having said that, the question of precedence was something, as I said, was of great concern to me. I am satisfied with the discussion this evening, and that we have an opportunity to take each and every case as it's presented on its merit. And I'll finish with, I think that the reason why this is so unique, with all due respect, gentlemen, is not just because you say it's unique, but I think that this application not only fits this building in this location, but there isn't any abutter or any obstruction in lighting that we've navigated that would be of concern to me. So I would ask that the board support this proposal as a new proposal this evening, taking those comments into account, because I am satisfied with the previous concerns that I had on precedents. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Anyone else? Is there a motion to close the public hearing before a vote?
Motion to close the public hearing?
Second that.
Is there a motion on the floor regarding the matter at hand, the hearing?
Did you take a vote?
I'm sorry? Oh, I apologize, you're right. We have a second motion on the floor, thank you. Is there a vote in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, seeing none. Thank you very much. So now, do we have a motion on the floor regarding the matter?
I'll move that the board approve the application for Polar Corporation with relief from sections 744 and 761 under our zoning bylaws.
Is there a second?
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? I will go on record as saying that I'm opposed. But the matter does pass, gentlemen. It's a 4-to-1 vote. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you for your deliberations and approval.
Good evening, gentlemen. Thank you.
Thank you.
Excuse me, do you have business cards that I can have? By chance? Yeah, and yours. Thank you.
Regular paperwork. Do I have anything to sign? I had a...
Yes, we have some signatures to take care of.
Thank you. Evening.
So on to new business, we have just some signatures to take care of from the last meeting. Some minutes to approve.
Sorry.
Oh, minutes.
So did anybody, do we have a motion on the floor to approve the minutes from the last meeting?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No? Yeah, we have some signatures to pass around.
You signed over the bills.
Yeah, I'm signing on the bills. Okay, so the first one is for Mr. Harvey Goldstein, 17 Sibley Street, special permit. The next one is for Welcome Homes, Elmwood Street, special permit. This one is for the Pilata Family Realty Trust, also known as the sign at Ernie's Baywash. Oh. much. Send it down your way.
Thank you. You don't have to sign any of those.
Just want to make sure that we have all items signed before I pass them back.
Okay. Item signed.
Thank you. That's good. Sign those, okay. There you are. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you. Pass them down.
So we have some, just some simple housekeeping to take care of. As you all know at home, that we got somebody to do the minutes of the meeting finally. And I'm sorry, could you say your name again, please?
Anita Shaw.
And Anita, thank you very much. We appreciate you coming and helping us out. I also didn't get the opportunity to thank Mrs. Westerman, who came the last few meetings and volunteered her time. As you know, she's a great citizen of the town. She does a lot of work for us, and she took time away from her family. She came up here and she did the minutes of the meetings on several occasions for us for free, and so I really appreciate Mrs. Westerman's hard work and diligence for that, so thank you very much if you're watching. And we also have a new building inspector, I believe. Could you introduce yourself?
Hi, my name's Caleb Moody. I'm the conditional local inspector for the town right now. I'm working with Nick on all the determinations. Nick's making the final determinations, but we're working together on a lot of them.
Great. Thank you very much. Welcome aboard. We look
Thank
forward to
you.
working with you.
Thank you.
Okay?
I'm sorry, through the chair, what was your last name, sir?
Moody.
Moody. Welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, and I believe that's all of it, so do we have a motion to close the hearing?
I'll make a motion to close the hearing.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. This is the shortest one in a while.